What's up everyone? So I don't know what I'm gonna title this video because I don't think I can fully describe what I'm about to talk about. But I guess to succinctly describe it, I would say the amazingness of everything. I mean that's quite broad, but let me just elaborate and you'll get it when I start talking. So one of the things I find very, very fascinating is space, outer space, the universe, and how all these things work together. Clusters of millions, if not billions, of galaxies housing millions of stars. Beyond your imagination, there may be more stars out there than grains of sand on all the beaches in the world, which will blow your mind because each of these stars may have star systems housing numerous planets, one of which may have life on it just like Earth. So that in of itself, just by the sheer numbers, it makes anyone who says that we are the first or the only intelligent species out there to be very arrogant or ignorant. Most likely the latter because they probably don't know the sheer numbers out there or really even care about it. And it's just very interesting because for me, if you have been watching any of my previous videos, I read up a lot on business and finance. And when you start doing that, you start really hitting on a lot of uh, macroeconomic discussion. Now, this is something I'm really, really interested in, but it is of decent interest to me because that's how businesses work and interact throughout the earth. And it's just very interesting because, some people, a lot of businessmen, a lot of people who are very wealthy, they are very focused on either the macroeconomic picture, such as how commodities trade and how businesses interact. And some of the biggest thought leaders and, most inspiring, influential people on the world, their focus is a global focus, whether it's impacting change in terms of eliminating poverty, reducing sex traffic, gender equality. All these things are very important in and of itself, and they're looking at things globally. Warren Buffett, businessman, he's technically not a really macroeconomic guy. One of his things that he says a lot is that any business decision I've made, I haven't factored in one single macroeconomic factor into it. The point of that is, his specific way of investing in businesses is not so influenced by macroeconomic stuff. However, the point is, a lot of big businesses, they are international. So in one shape or form, you have to understand how they interact globally and how they compete with other global entities. So the point of that mumbo jumbo, that ramble, is that, when I really dive into this, I find a lot of people who are really into this stuff. And a lot of the big thought leaders, whether it's philanthropists, Bill Gates, the Red Cross, whatever it is, they are concerned about a global picture on the world. And when I think about that and I hear about that, oftentimes I'm just like, wow, that's amazing. For him to consider so many people, or for her to consider and, really think of the big picture. And that's true in a lot of ways. It's so true when you compare it to a lot of people I interact with occasionally who are just, normal average teenagers, and their focus is completely different. And I'm not going to say it's right or wrong. It's just a much more, you know, I wouldn't call it simpleton. I don't want to be mean, but it's very much focused on their own lives and what they're doing. Whether it's the latest party, whether it's the latest TV show, whether it's how am I going to buy that car or that purse or get that girl or guy into my life or hook up and so forth. There's a little bit of fun in that world too, but it's definitely not a larger picture world. And understanding and realizing what's out there in space and the universe and outer space, I mean, with all the stuff with the stars and how matter works and gravity and all the unknown things out there, it's even more, mind blowing. Because at the same time, it's just like, okay, the globe, the Earth is amazing, but what about the universe? What about galaxies and all that stuff? And one of the questions, if I ever get the chance, which I don't know if I ever will, but one of the things I really want to ask some of these big thought leaders who are interested in, philanthropy and impacting the earth, for instance, Bill Gates or Warren Buffett, one of the things I really want to ask them is, I'm wondering, have you ever thought about the universe and our existence and all the millions upon millions of galaxies housing millions of stars out there and all that stuff going on out there? Because I mean, there's a bit of a, if you don't know, there's a cult following for a lot of these people, Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger, and they're so revered for understanding the complexities and how amazing, and it truly is an amazing system of how we interact on a global level. How and it gets very complex. How oil markets work, commodities work, how a business like McDonald's functions on a global level, and fights off and keeps its competitive advantage. It's very interesting, and I'm not gonna lie, I don't know much about it. I just know enough to know how cool it can get. But I really want to ask them, well, have you really heard or learned about space and outer space and all that stuff? Because it's very amazing as well. And I just find that very fascinating because we are kind of just like the sailors of a few hundred years ago, where the earth wasn't explored fully and we didn't know what was out there. And so these humans just made up these random crazy things in their maps. And they pictured these sea serpents and weird, bizarre creatures that were much larger than any ship and much smaller than anything you can imagine. All these weird monsters living in the sea, and it was just this unknown void out there that we had to explore and figure out what was going on. And over time, through that exploration, we kind of conquered the earth. Surprise, surprise. We didn't even think that was possible. But I wouldn't say conquered. There's a lot of areas that still, I mean, arguably can't be conquered. But we found out that the world is a lot smaller than we thought. And it's, not this flat map where all of a sudden we just fly off the end. Or there's some edge that just leads to nowhere. But it's a globe. And therefore, something that we thought was finite is infinite. And so I just find that very fascinating in and of itself. I get a lot of comments, not a lot, a few comments, and they'll say stuff like, how ignorant of people of the old days to think that the world was, flat and that we would just fall off the end of it. How could they be so stupid to not realize that the earth is, a sphere? And I got another comment that said, how stupid can people be to not realize that we orbited around the sun? And I think, not to be mean, but they themselves, by thinking it's so easy, they don't understand the history of it and how hard it is to figure that stuff out. Like, what true evidence do you have right now if you unplug from all the videos and science on the internet? How can you prove that we revolve around the sun? Do you know how much math and debate and decades of, fighting that they had to do, and religion that they had to fight against to even get them to consider that everything didn't revolve around the earth? So, moving on, let's go and zoom in. Let's go to the microscopic level. But before that, let's go to the human body level. I think the human body in and of itself is just very fascinating in it of itself. I mean, I had the fortune of taking a lot of courses in science and biology and so forth. And I mean, from the lowest level to the most big picture level, there's so much out there that's so amazing. And people don't understand this. The human body, I cannot fully describe to you how intricate and complex a system it is. It is so amazing. And for it to do all it's done and be, so, efficient in space, it just blows your mind. And not just the human body, but many different types of animals and different living creatures out there. There are animals that can regenerate, and the science behind that, how they regenerate a limb, is incredible. And then I would say, back to the human, because I have a special place for that. The human is amazing in so many ways. Like, it's not perfect. It's fragile in a lot of ways, and it can get killed very easily. But if you look at the amazingness of the human species, I mean, I don't want to get arrogant or say that we're some type of superior species, but it will just blow your mind how incredible it is. Like, in our system, there are so many things that work together. The lymph nodes, the nervous system, for us to move, for us to sense, for us to interact. In the split seconds it takes us for us to feel something on our feet, to how we register it and react to it. And all the things, all the pulleys and levies in our system, the levers to react, engage to different things in our environment, from our immune system to counteract all the diseases. I mean, it gets very complex, from how it interacts and combats all these different types of viruses, and the variety of viruses out there, where they come in and how they exactly invade our system and then explode, and then by exploding they create more of these viruses that then come in and invade human cells, and then literally, by its really cool process, come into that cell, invade it, hijack its manufacturing to manufacture more of its own viruses, and then literally explode or lyse the cell to create more viruses. It's a very interesting process. And then the immune system to counteract that, and then on and on and on. So there's the immune system, the cardiovascular system, with how we with how our blood moves and how it pumps air and oxygen to every part of our body, to the what else, the digestive system. And it's more complicated, but generally speaking, it's literally, you eat the food, it goes down this huge tube, and then there's a lot of different systems in play to extract that food, and then do all this stuff together to extract as much nutrients as it needs from it. And then what comes out is the poo. And then there's another system for your urine, which it literally goes into the blood, and then it comes out of the blood again, and there's your urine. And all of these different systems working together compactly with your skeletal system and all that stuff for your body to work properly and well. And it's just incredible seeing that. And then there's the human mind and what that can do, and just the potential on that. Seeing so many successful individuals. I mean, I've seen so many YouTube channels and success stories and YouTube videos, and the pure potential and neuroplasticity of the mind to not only impact change. I mean, in the self-help, self-success industry, there's so many stories of people who have literally changed their thinking, how they think, how they act. And over a course of 5-10 years, they've gone from broke poor to incredibly rich, from ignorant to intelligent, to their level of change and understanding of the world. It's just incredible in of itself. And the sheer amount of potential I can now see in so many of us that, for the most part, lies unearthed, unused. That's incredible. And I don't want, for the sake of not making this video too long, let's go down to the lowest level we can. So when we get to the subatomic level or the molecular level, it's incredible in and of itself how cells interact with each other, how small things can get, how many living things living cells, all these things exist on the smallest level possible, where you need such levels of microscopes to even see them or identify them. And realizing how many, thousands, if not millions of things live on such a small level on the tip of your finger or your gut. And then it gets into pH level and all that stuff on a certain level. And then if you go deeper and deeper, you can get to the atomic level, and then subatomic, where then the basic laws of physics, gravity and all that stuff break down and don't work anymore, and things go bonkers. And then if you go back to the universal level with galaxies and so forth, you'll find out a lot of this physics stuff doesn't work. And then I'm sure there's some crazy messed up stuff going on where a lot of laws don't work, and a bunch of crap that we think exists here is completely crazy out there. Like, if you just explore the Earth on its own, you know that there's some crazy or crazier stuff going out in space right now. I mean, that's one of the reasons I want to travel and explore. I mean, I'm kind of doing it vicariously through travel bloggers and their videos and so forth. If you do some digging, there's some really good travel montage videos on YouTube. It will just blow your mind if you just explore the Earth and realize that diversity in landscapes and environments and human cultures, in the diversity in animals out there. There's some crazy stuff going on in the world, and then most likely in space as well. And again, there's so many different areas. Let's look at the ocean. There's some depths of the ocean that go so unexplored that people know more about space than those dark depths of the ocean, where for some reason, somehow, these animals, these fish, can survive without any sunlight. And what you realize is that sunlight is probably one of the major essential things for living creatures to go about their day, and yet these people do it in pitch darkness. So that's interesting in and of itself. And for the sake of this video getting too long and me just rambling, let's finish it off with an example of all the unexplored, undiscovered stuff in space. So there's dark matter. Dark matter is just ridiculous. So basically, most of the matter in our universe is this thing called dark matter. It's something that we don't know much about. It's not easily calculated or defined in a lot of ways, and it doesn't interact in a lot of ways, but it's out there. And we only know about it through certain things like how it interacts with gravity. Other than that, we just know it exists, and it's not out there. What the heck it is, who knows? Who knows what the heck it is? Is it some other dimensional thing? I don't know. I really don't know too much about it, so I don't want to start talking extensively about it. But it really just goes to show you the amazingness of the world. And I mean, I could go on and on, but back to reality. Most people are tweeting about the Kardashians, which in and of itself is kind of interesting. If you look at how social media plays itself, how the Kardashians are using that empire of social media to create what they've created and how they've done it, it's kind of interesting. But long story short, I just think that's very fascinating. And I don't try and look at it as some sort of arrogant or superior way of like, oh, look at me, I know about all this stuff, or I can consider all this stuff, while you guys are just tweeting away or on Snapchat. I mean, it's just I would say the most healthiest way for you to look at it is I am very grateful to have been able to have been exposed to the amazingness of this world, because a lot of people, whatever reason, maybe they're in a developing country and they're being sex trafficked, or they're too wrapped up in the gangs and violence in their country, or the politics going on, or that they've, for whatever reason, not been exposed to things in a certain way for them to appreciate the amazingness of life out there. And that's just how, things work. That's how species survive, and how humans have to sort of deal with things in certain ways. So I'm just very grateful to have been a factor in this. So if you like this video, please leave it a like. And if you do nothing else, please share this video with someone you think would enjoy this. And hopefully I will see you in my next video. If you're not a subscriber, hit the subscribe button. It's free. And I will see you in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. And hopefully we can continue this conversation in the comments down below. Peace.